Yep. So I said I was going to make a video about this kind of topic, and right off the bat, you're thinking, what is this? Where's the NHL 20? And yeah, I know, but I felt that because we're making a little bit of a personal commentary, something that relates a little bit more to me rather than news, I felt it would be nice to go back to the roots. This is some Call of Duty World War II gameplay, and I'm gonna admit, I died quite a few times in this one, and I died a lot more than I would have liked to. A lot of gunfights and a lot of decisions that I ended up not really doing all too great on. But in the end, we do have a pretty positive KD ratio at the end. But the topic of this video is pretty straightforward. It's why I am so harsh on my favorite team. And that is the Vancouver Canucks. This stems a lot from the play-in series that we were watching earlier yesterday, which would have been August 4th. And that was game 2, and it was a very good game, it was a very positive game, they won that game, and I said this in the stream earlier in the day before I actually watched that game, but a lot of Canucks fans, after my review of Game 1, which happened 3 days ago on August 2nd, they all told me in the comments, you know what, Lego, you don't deserve to cheer for this team when they win because your video for Game 1 was so negative, you wrote the team off, and because you're so harsh on them, why do you deserve to be happy when the team wins? You gotta stick with it, man. You are negative, stay negative. And to me, that's just not how it works. And this video is kind of going to justify why exactly I was so harsh in Game 1, while also being a little bit more conservative on my quote-unquote happiness for Game 2. And besides, a lot of my stream from the stream yesterday said that I should probably start playing Call of Duty again, so here is a COD gameplay commentary. A lot of my Vancouver Canucks fandom comes based off of what I believe the team is capable of. It comes off of expectations, and it comes off of the talent that I know the team has. When I see a roster suit up of Elias Pettersson, Brock Besser, JT Miller, Toffoli, Pearson, and whoever else we have up there, Gaudette, Horvat, etc., I know what this team is about. I've seen this team for a full calendar year's worth of play, and we know how good they can be. So, when we take a look at a play-in series against a Minnesota Wild team which we have beaten before, albeit not in high quantity, I take a look at this and I say, you know, I know what I want this team to do, and I know what this team is capable of. So when I see a Game 1 that was as piss poor as their Game 1 was, I can't help but feel frustrated and say, you know what, this team is so much better than that. This team played themselves into a hole, and they weren't able to play themselves out of that hole because the Minnesota Wild defense and their overall coverage and their tightening up of the slot was just so strong. So that's why that Game 1 video was as negative as it was, because from my point of view after watching that Game 1, I was like, you know, what we saw out of that Game 1 was a team that just wasn't able to do anything. And if this team is not able to fix themselves up, then I got no hope. No hope. No hope for the next few games, which is why I titled the video, The Canucks Can't Beat the Wild. And I started off that video by saying, the Canucks don't have what it takes to beat the Wild. Because the way the Canucks played in that game signified to me that they just wouldn't be able to get it done. Now, obviously, I said this in the stream previously as well. If you haven't been checking out our streams, we do stream daily for play-in series games. You can check out these streams and hang out with me and a few other people once in a while. But I did say this in a stream earlier, but do I regret how harsh I was in that Game 1 video? Probably, to an extent, I guess so. But do I regret all the things that I said? Absolutely not. Because plain and simple, I'm a fan of this team and I know what this team is about. I know that this team can play so much better than how they did in Game 1. It's also kind of why in Game 2, even though they won, I still wasn't as positive as some people would probably like, because that game ended off pretty poorly. I'm not gonna lie about that. 2 goals against, with one of them being 7 seconds left. to only win the game by 1 when you had a 2-goal, 3-goal lead for a very, very good part of that third period certainly wasn't the ending that you would have liked. And obviously, there's a lot to improve there. There's certainly a lot more to improve in terms of the overall team attitude and the way the team goes about containing their leads. So, obviously, I'm not going to be up and away over the moon happy, but of course, I'm at least happy that they won and they tied up the series, making it now a best 2 out of 3. But at the end of the day, I'm just a guy who likes this team, and I know what this team is about. No matter what happens with this team, if this team wins, if this team loses, I'm gonna be here supporting them. And even if I'm out there saying that they don't have what it takes to beat the Wild, or that they can't beat the Wild, or that they lose and they're playing so poorly and I'm over here criticizing the heck out of them, it doesn't mean that my love for this team has waned any further, because no matter what, I've been on board with this team for 9 years, and I know some of you out there may be thinking, what, 9 years? You came on during the Cup run? And yeah, I did start liking this team during the Cup run, but I was 11 years old back then, so I guess it's not really too bad. I mean, I've been a Canucks fan for almost half of my entire life. You could probably put it that way, and it sounds a little bit better, but that is the end of the Call of Duty footage right here. Final score of the game, it is 24-3. Pretty solid. What is that, an 8 KD ratio? Obviously, some of the deaths in this one were a little bit weak, but I want to go into a little bit of a different side of the commentary, because even though I am in this position where no matter what happens with the team, I'm always going to be here supporting them, it does not mean that I'm not allowed to criticize them, and I'm not allowed to vent my frustrations, because hey, things you love make you upset the most, don't they? That's pretty much how it works, I think, but it's also kind of why I'm not really able to do the same thing and be as upset with teams like Montreal or Detroit, because when it comes to expectations, I know these teams aren't supposed to be all too great. Montreal wasn't the best in the regular season at all. In fact, they were the worst team out of all the play-in series to make the play-in series. It's why I can stream a Habs game and not really get all too upset when they lose. When I watch Detroit, it's like, okay, this is literally like the worst team we've seen in years. So if this team kind of loses, I'm okay with it. It's fine. The expectation is there for this team to not be great. As for Vancouver, though, it's completely different now, ever since the quote-unquote rebuild quote-unquote ended, I guess. And I say quote-unquote a lot because I don't really know if it's fair to say that the rebuild has 100% ended, because it is fair to say, in my opinion, that Pettersson and Hughes and how good these players are sped up that rebuild. And if we had any other players, like, I don't know, instead of Pettersson in 2017, we had Cody Glass, and instead of Quinn Hughes in 2018, we had, I don't know, Evan Bouchard or Dobson, we would still be in a rebuild. That's just how it goes. And if we had those guys, we wouldn't have traded for JT Miller, we wouldn't have traded for Toffoli, we still would have had Tyler Madden, we still would have had our first-round pick in either 2020 or 2021, and PD and Hughes pretty much just accelerated this rebuild tenfold, which is kind of why we're in this position anyway. But still, even if they did accelerate the rebuild, the bottom line is this team still had the 4th best power play in the league in the regular season. They were still on pace to being one of the better Pacific teams out of all the teams, and they probably would have made the playoffs in a pretty significant role had the season continued and not shut down during the virus. So that's kind of why I'm so harsh on this team, especially since we waited 5 months for playoff hockey. We finally get our first dose of it, and we see that in Game 1. That piss-poor, terrible performance that, to their credit, they absolutely used as fuel as to how to improve in Game 2, which is what we wanted to see. It's what we needed to see. And at the end of the day, it's what the Canucks need to use as fuel for Game 3 going into the next part of the series. Because now, against the Wild, it's a best 2 out of 3. There are 3 more games left, and you gotta win 2 of them. That doesn't sound all too great on paper, but at the same time, the opposite team has the same odds stacked against them. So, talk to me in the comments below what you thought about this gameplay commentary. Should I do a little bit more COD? Because I know some people have been telling me to get back into COD, and I know I've been bragging about my KD a lot on the the live streams that we've been doing. So tell me all you think about that stuff. Am I also justified in my kind of love-hate relationship with the Vancouver Canucks that really is just love all underneath, but can be masked as hate once in a while in a few videos like the ones that we made earlier? But tell me what you think in the comments below. Are you the same as me? Because I know I can be kind of crazy, but I hope you enjoyed this video. So that's 99, and bye.